Hello everyone, welcome to GS Core. My name is Abhishiekh Saxena and today we are starting or embarking on our journey for public administration. PYQ practice program. So talking substantially about PYQs is something that will happen over the forthcoming sessions. The program would entail 25 sessions that will include 2 tests of 250 marks each, one for paper 1 and one for paper 2. So what we are going to do as part of our sessions is the thematic coverage. So what we have done is that we have aligned our themes as per the syllabus given by the UPSC. So if you will see, in paper 1 we have 12 units and in paper 2 we have 14 units, right? And based on that we have combined certain themes, and in total they are going to be 25 sessions including the tests. So what we are going to do is take up every theme in one session, right? Or a bunch of themes in a session depending upon the coverage, the PYQs. And we'll analyze those PYQs threadbare from the conceptual point of view, right? Also, for every academic session that will take care of a theme, you will have worksheet. You are expected to work on that worksheet after the sessions, and we'll be discussing those worksheets in the mentorships that we will be having. So these mentorships are somewhat different from these 25 sessions, right? So that's a plus. So today's session is going to be about a very critical aspect, that is the trend analysis and answer writing. But before I actually embark on what do we intend to do with the PYQs, let us get to the detail of the method that we are going to use. So just for your view, obviously these might not be readable to you at the moment, but the first thing that actually goes with the PYQs, the first step is categorization. The categorization of the PYQs. So if you will see the PYQs, and I'll be taking PYQs from 2016 onwards up till 2024. So the categorization is the starting point. Once we have started categorizing PYQs in the right spirit, and why am I saying in the right spirit? Because most of the categorizations that are available in the market are flawed. Flawed in the sense that at times they categorize questions incorrectly, whether we are talking about solved or unsolved. More so with regards to solved, the issue is that you take up those model answers, the so-called model answers, as a gospel, and you try and emulate that. Rather than this, I would urge all of you, and I'm not going to give you this Excel sheet, no, but rather I would like you to make this Excel sheet yourself and bring it up to me in mentorship sessions so that we can discuss on them. The idea is that while we jostle our brain, to actually categorize the questions. And if you will see here, what I've done is I have categorized the questions based on various themes, right? So if I take up the unit of introduction, so you will have the details of the questions which have been asked from this unit categorized subtopic wise. You see, subtopic wise, and therein you will find the similarities. If I put it up like this, for example, the question related to the meaning, scope, significance. You see this question? Public administration is constantly being reinvented because it is contextual. This was asked in 2019. And then you see a question which was asked in the year 2024. And you see this question. The study of public administration must include its ecology. Aren't these questions the same? Isn't the inherent character in them the same? Right? Also, if I take up the questions year on year, and if you look at here, the 2016, I can very well get to how much marks have been allocated. In a nutshell, to a unit, because this is a reality that every paper in the examination is worth of 400 marks. Question number 1 and 5 are compulsory. From section A and B, the question number 1 and 5 are compulsory, and for the rest you have to do at least one question each section, and in total 3 questions. So out of those 400 marks you have to attempt 250 marks. So that is the key. These are the insights. Through the analysis of PYQs, we can find the patterns, key highlight concepts. So that will make it our thrust area, right? Our thrust area on which we should pay more emphasis. And I gave you just an example how questions have repeated themselves a bit with a different phraseology. So we'll be able to score better in the mains examination. Also, what is being asked? If I say contextual, ecological or ecology, we are looking at the ecological view of public administration along with the integral view. If you associate private and public administration, then these aspects have also been asked. So going through PYQs in a systematic manner gives us that sort of an insight, right? Now, what's the method that we need to adopt? The method is simple. The first one is categorization. The second one is overlapping themes. And then coming up with key dimensions which have been asked in the examination. And overall that the placement and the marks distribution. So things like these help us strategize better for the examination. Also, this if we take together with our study and notes, study, practice, then this helps bridge the gap between concept and questions in the examination. So this gap gets bridged. So we should adopt this methodology to actually use PYQs and make it an ally for us in the examination. So today's session, like I said, is about the trends that we are going to see. So with regards to trends, first I will move with paper 1. Okay. So 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 9 years. So the average distribution and the key topics that have been asked. These are some things which I am going to focus on in today's session. Then when we'll be taking up it in a thematic manner, then we'll be dealing with every theme in a detailed manner through examination of the previous year's questions. Right? And post every session, such academic session, you will have a worksheet wherein through that worksheet we'll try and hone the perspective and reduce the gap that we were talking about between the concept and the question. Right? So let us get to the very first unit, that is introduction. Okay, remember every paper is of 400 marks, right? So that is what we need to do. So if we look at the introduction, over the 9 years, it was 465 marks. Roughly 50 marks on an average. Okay, roughly 50 marks on an average. So that's a key unit. That's almost 20% of the one that you have to attempt. The weightage I am talking about. Right? So, and if you will see this through the lens of PYQs. Let me pull that Excel out again for you and see this. Most of the questions, and this is the question number tab that I am referring to. This is the question number tab that I am referring to. Barring 2 instances, all the questions, so this is 6A, this is an exception in 2017. Barring this, all the questions have found place in part A. Mostly, very rarely you have one in 5E or 7C, etc. You see? Every question is there in part A. Now, coming to the topics that we have at hand. That are the key topics for this unit. You see the political view of public administration, NPA, NPM, and the extension NPS is the key idea. Apart from that, there have been questions on the conceptual dimensions of good governance. Then, of course, Wilson is there for us. Wilson is there for us. And then the views, meaning, scope, significance. This will use the conceptual elements: political view, institutional view, integral view, ecological view, right? This aspect has been asked vis-a-vis the evolution and meaning. Apart from this, the liberalization, privatization, globalization and its impact has been asked time and again. Okay? So it is these key themes. Mind you, PCT has not been asked a lot. Public choice theory has not been asked a lot. It is this aspect which has been asked the most number of times, 50 marks. Okay. Moving on to the next unit, that is administrative thought. If you look at administrative thought, the unit again is roughly of 50 marks. It's 445 over 9 years, roughly 50 marks. And the key topics, when you will see, is distributed. It is moving around classicals, whether Fayol, Taylor, right, to a certain extent Foley. Foley is a scholar who has been asked time and again. Okay, Argyris, Simon. So this unit is well distributed in that sense. This unit is well distributed in that sense. But let me take an example for human relations school as a subtopic in this. And if you see human relations school, it is revolving around similar ideas. It is juxtaposing classical versus human relations school in most of the questions. Let me read out a few. So this was asked in 2017. What is distinctive about classical and HRS in administration as their complementarity to each other? Right? As its complementarity to each other. Then suddenly in 2022 a question gets asked. Human relationists postulate that what is important to a worker and what influences his or her productivity level may not be organizational chart but his association with other workers. Isn't the DNA that what classicals could not do was complemented by human relations? The first question was a direct sort of a complementarity comparison. The second question was somewhat a corollary of the first aspect. So if you look at the DNA in these questions, it is the same thing, right? It is the same thing. So when we look at these PYQs, apart from the trend of marks, it is very important to see how a single concept is getting reflected in multiple dimensions. Right? So this is something which is significant. I wanted to point it out that the trend continues to hold, that another 50 marks is coming from administrative thought. Mind you, there would be more surprises. We are looking at 400 marks. Right? Yes, Weber, Simon, classical theory, SMT, CMT, they continue to dominate. So the broader themes would remain unchanged, but within them you see here a sort of a repetition or a corollary being asked. Let us move to another unit. Next is the unit of administrative behavior. Now, if we look at the unit of administrative behavior, and some of you might think then again it is a very, very substantive unit, but little gets asked. On an average, 30 to 35 marks with regards to administrative behavior. With regards to administrative behavior. And it is revolving around leadership, motivation. Largely scholars like Bernard are the focus. Isolated questions are there on communication. So if I pick up the sort of, if I may call them the key topics, the key thrust areas there, and the thinker is Bernard. We often talk about in administrative behavior, the systems approach, this and that. Yes, that is important. That will be used somewhere. But the point here is that the questions directly alluding to it have not been asked so much. Okay. Even for that matter, the concept of morale has not been asked. Straight away theories were asked in 2024, ERG theory, 2023 two-factor theory, 2023 again Ridden model was asked. Okay, internal motivation, external motivation, things like these were asked. So this again become a very important topic that we have seen recurring, and over the past 9 years we see these themes dominating around 30 to 35 marks. Okay, moving on to the next unit, that is organizations. Now this is going to be a surprise for you, because often by the time we come across to fourth unit we tend to get tired. We tend to think that okay, we are done with it, most of the stuff is done. Roughly $30 marks, 25 to 30 marks. And again, all of this is largely falling in part A. Practically no question over the last 9 years or so have been asked which is outside part A. And this is where you see themes of regulatory authorities dominating in a big way. Let me just give you a sample to this. This question was asked in 2021. Regulation is an old but increasingly necessary mode of social coordination and political intervention into societal processes. Examine it in the context of globalization. Next, again you see how it is asking regulation. Regulatory governance frameworks have become essential building blocks of world society. Again, the globalization aspect has come in here. It is not using the term globalization. You understand? World society. Discuss their potential and impact in fulfilling hopes and demands. Isn't the DNA of these two questions almost same? Almost. And they were asked in, one was asked in 2021, other was asked in 2022. Again, 2024, a question comes. Regulatory authorities are independent and effective for controlling service delivery activity but are subject to extraneous factors. Legal, economic, social, political, these factors. Do you agree? Give reasons. So same concept of regulatory authority, that same name, that same set of notes that you go through. What are regulatory authorities, issues, significance, challenges, solution, regulatory authority in India, regulatory authority in LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. So all those key concepts are getting asked again and again, right? Again, very less questions, and a couple of questions over the last 9 years have been asked on systems and contingency theory, right, that have been there. A few isolated questions on PPP. So these are the key thrust areas of this particular unit. Let us move to the next one. The next one being accountability and control. Accountability and control. So coming to accountability and control, if I look the average marks distribution, it is roughly again 30 marks. Roughly again 30 marks. Most of the questions falling in the part A. Isolated question here and there falling in part B. Now, in this particular unit, you will find the theme of civil society. That is the dominating theme. That is the dominating theme. And the second dominating theme being citizen administrative interface. Citizen administration interface. So these are the broad themes that we deal with in accountability and control. Next, coming to the trends. The unit of administrative law. The unit of administrative law. Again, a very important unit falling in part A of the paper. So a lot of you get confused in administrative law, barely 20 marks on an average. Of course, I hope you understand when I say 20 marks, the average would be somewhere around 21 or maybe 19. But the idea is that I give you a round figure. Okay, so don't come back to me once you add it and say it is crossing 400. Okay, it will cross. Mathematically, it's possible. Now, if you look at this, two themes, meaning scope of administrative law and delegated legislation, they have dominated the discourse. They have dominated the discourse. Okay. Coming to the next one, largely we are still in part A, friends. Okay. We are in part A. Next, coming to the unit of comparative public administration. This is where things start getting interesting. Comparative public administration. Again, so much to read in this, right? Roughly 25 marks on an average. And if you will see the themes under this dominating, that is moving in and around the Rigsian models. Rixian models and the current status, where in CPA, in LPG, new CPA, these things are dominating. The sociological historical factors have not been asked for quite some time now, right? And when you will compare the questions, you will understand that things are repeating. And then the third theme which is dominating is the comparative nature of administration in different countries. Let me sample from this towards this. Okay, so when you will look at that, in different countries, they will compare. For example, this question was asked in 2023. The Constitution of French Republic does not prohibit ministers from being the leader of political party. It is customary that ministers should not occupy such a post to ensure impartiality. This was one question which was asked in the year 2023. Then 2021, the approach of study of administration in its environmental context is especially more useful for developing countries. Now these two questions, if you see, are not related explicitly, but they involve the same DNA of comparison of administration in different countries. Comparison of administration in different country. Now coming to the current status, and this is where it is getting further interesting. Okay, Weber's construct of bureaucracy has served a great heuristic purpose in furthering research in the field of comparative public administration. This is in a way combining Weber and CPA. This question was 5C, in a way compulsory. Now you see another question. Comparative public administration started with no paradigm of its own and developed none. Then again, it's a very abstract question to ask. But the DNA is all moving around the CPA and its basics. When we talk about Rixian models, a question was asked in 2024, 7A, the question number was 7A. Riggs prismatic model has been criticized as overtly gloomy and technically complex, but it remains as a useful starting point for CPA research. Now you look at this question and this. Some factor is being asked. The question number was 6A in the year 2022. The more exogenic the process of diffraction, the more formalistic and heterogeneous its prismatic phase. The more endogenetic, the less formalistic and heterogeneous. Examine the hypothesis of Riggs. So different shades of Rigsian models have been asked. Then the sociological factors came after many years in 2024. The last time the sociological and historical factors came was, in the year 2018. The 2018 question was, administrative systems across the world can be understood only in their respective historical and social context. Explain the statement giving examples. Then cut to 2024. Undoubtedly, social and historical factors play a significant role in shaping administrative system, but side by side, understanding these influences is essential for designing responsive governance structures. Same DNA. Same DNA. Right? So I hope all of you will agree that these PYQs, when we arrange them in a systematic order, and I explained the method here. Right, let me bring back to the method. That this method will eventually help in getting to the root of the subject. It is not only an easy tool to revise the subject, It is also an easy tool to revise it with exam orientation and the various dimensions that are being traced and asked and how to understand that. Moving on from CPA, so you see this is mostly in part B. So if your part A is sorted to a large extent, you can still take your chances with the unit of CPA. Then comes the unit of development dynamics. So you will find that initial 6 units, and in that initial 2-3 units dominate the space in paper 1 in the part A. Next, when we come to development dynamics, again an area which might look abstract, but it is wholesome, averaging around 40 marks every year. Okay, and in this unit you will find that the distribution is largely abstract, meaning that it gets a tad bit difficult to handle for the reason that yes, the strong state versus market debate is something that is ruling the roost, but along with it, it is asking in a fused manner the impact of LPG on development, impact of LPG on development. And a key aspect, a conceptual element, that is the highlight here, is the bureaucracy and development debate. This is something that you find in paper 2 as well, right? So this is the key aspect here. Okay, moving on to the next unit. Personnel administration. Personnel administration, again a unit which you think is easy, or by the time you get there you are always concerned about theories etc., but they will give you equal marks provided you do them well. Okay, roughly again 40 marks, roughly again the 40 marks, and a portion which is dominating here is performance appraisal and the administrative ethics part. This is something which is dominating. Apart from that, the element of training. So these are the dominating areas, right? If you will see the questions in 2024, and let me read out to them because it was fairly recent. Civil services should be allowed only to cast vote or to participate in the electoral process of the country. Examine. Civil servants rather, I beg your pardon. So when you are looking at this, again the idea of ethics is coming into play. Okay, should they be allowed to vote or not? Then a trend to adopt innovative practices in administrative ethics is gaining ground for improving public trust in government. Look how in a twisted manner it is questioning administrative ethics or putting in the question administrative ethics. Next, and this is all 2024, mind you. So 2024, if I put it down, it was around 45 marks 10, 20 and 15, and all of it in part B. Performance management and performance appraisal are two distinct activities in public personnel administration. Again, so these are the key areas of this particular unit. Now let us get to the next unit, which often is considered as very wide, so many models, so much practical oriented. That is the unit of public policy. Surprisingly, this is turning out to be the organizations as it turned out in part A, the part B. You will look at it and you will find that barely 20 to 25 marks. Again, majority of it is in part B. No question practically in the last 9 years in part A in this. So while question number 1 and 5 are compulsory, you will have to do it. But in making these choices, you can strategize better. That is what I mean when I say analysis of the PYQ. And all of it is largely focusing on policy cycle. The term obviously is not mentioned in the syllabus, but you will find conceptualization, planning, implementation, monitoring, evaluation and review and their limitations. Okay, and the next is models, the models itself. Those are the key areas. Now moving on to the next unit. That is techniques of administrative improvement. Now you will be surprised with the weightage here as well. Roughly 20 to 25 marks again. Okay, roughly 20 to 25 marks. The techniques of administrative improvement. And this is where it gets interesting. Often we see three themes: IT, digital governance, CPM, PERT, etc. One method, every couple of years one method is asked, right? But the questions are highly application oriented. For example, in 2023, the question was, ICT can harness power of AI to execute more policies and intelligently, creating an efficient and effective government. Examine. The future of e-governance is shaped by emerging trends in making government services efficient and accessible. So they will be broad questions. They will be like that. Nobody is going to ask the definition of e-governance straight away, right? Sample this, 2020, when this AI etc. were coming up, the world was getting disturbed because of COVID. Disruptive nature of developments in IT has changed the contours of e-governance in the last 1 decade. Similar things. Repeating time and again. So your MIS, PERT, CPM, the standard thing. So why am I bringing this up? It is for the reason that they are the low-hanging fruits there. All right, they are the low-hanging fruits, and you can pick them up, score marks, because ultimately nobody is going to give you a medal if you have attempted all the questions of unit 1 or unit 2 or unit 3 or whatever. It is how many marks you are going to score. And these units, whether techniques of administrative improvement, personnel administration, you have less thrust areas, less diversification, but more number of marks. So while 1 and 5 are compulsory, we cannot do much about it. Also in that also you will see there is a placement pattern that is emerging that we will try and decipher during the substantive discussions, unit theme wise discussions. But the point here is that we will have to take these things up in a very rational, dispassionate manner. If personnel, administration and organization are going to give me same marks, and if I'm good at personnel administration, I better attempt those questions, no? I better strategize the examination, my journey for the examination in the necessary manner, right? Coming to the last unit of paper 1, that is financial administration. And you will find a huge semblance between financial administration and financial management, paper 2. Again, a unit that takes up a reasonable number of marks, roughly 35 on an average. Roughly 35, and the monetary, fiscal policy, that means budget is included, audit. This dominates. Every couple of years you will see one form or the other form of the budget being asked. For example, in 2021, zero-based budgeting was asked. In 2022, outcome budgeting was asked. In 2023, again zero-based budgeting was asked. Right? That is there. So this completes our paper 1. Moving on to paper 2. Moving on to paper 2. Why am I mean, you must be thinking, why am I just giving marks and highlighting certain topics? The reason is so that we mentally orient ourselves for the forthcoming sessions. That this should be our way to actually look at and utilize these PYQs in terms of recurring themes, in terms of recurring areas that are coming to fore again and again. Now, coming to paper 2, the very first unit, that is the evolution. So we have 14 units. Evolution is coming out to be roughly 20 marks. It is coming out to be roughly 20 marks. And you will see every couple of years they are alternating between Mughal and Kautilya. Isolated spurts of British are there. Okay? Isolated. In 2024, both were asked. Ethics in public services has been the main concern of Kautilya's Arthashastra, and the Mughal administration was by nature centralized. Now see 2022. Mughal administrative system was centralized despotism. Isn't the question almost same? Isn't it? Okay. It is asking, in the interim it asks about indigenization. Indianization of the civil services. But these are the key topics to keep the tabs on. Moving on to the next question, philosophical framework. Philosophical and constitutional framework. Again, roughly 20 marks, largely situated in part A of paper 2, none in part B. Now it is here that the distribution is far more even. The salient features, constitutionalism, and the bureaucracy versus development debate. So if I take up paper 1 and 2, and we were talking about bureaucracy versus development there as well. So isn't that a theme to master? Isn't this a theme that we should be working upon? Isn't this a theme that we should be working upon? Bureaucracy versus development. Right? Moving on to the next unit, PSUs. That is public sector undertakings. And here you will find that the marks distribution that is coming up is getting far more even. Less than 20 marks on an average, right? But suddenly, and this less than 20 marks, why am I saying? Suddenly it has got a boost. For example, in 2024 alone, it was asked in 40 marks. Let me read out the questions. Autonomy of public undertakings is a myth. Public sector undertakings have been the bedrock of welfareism in India for many decades. Evaluate the pros and cons of current disinvestment scenario. The LPG has enhanced the participation of private sector in Indian economy. Now this is a broad question, but I have kept it in public sector undertakings because it has got to do a lot with public sector, but you will find certain abstract questions. Now this makes this unit difficult, a tad bit difficult. Okay, but if you will see the placement, very few placement has been made in question number 1. Often it is in question number 2 and 3. Often, more often than not. Okay, so the public sector in modern India, the nature has become abstract of the kind of questions that are being asked. Right, while central issues would remain autonomy, accountability, control, and the public sector undertakings in modern India. But the point here is that this unit is getting abstract, so I will pay adequate emphasis on the dimensions. And let me tell you, autonomy of public sector undertakings is a myth. This question has repeated itself time and again. So this was in 2024. See the question in 2022. A new economic reforms during the past 3 decades have not only reduced the scope of individual licensing and areas reserved exclusively for public sector, but also infringed the autonomy of existing PSUs. So this autonomy aspect is being asked from various lenses. That is what you should keep a tab on, right? Moving on to the next unit, union government. Union government and administration. Now, with regards to union government, you will find things are pretty, straightforward that are coming up. But it carries good number of marks. Almost 40. Easy catch, more in the nature of Indian polity that you study. Also, the key areas include PMO. It is getting repeated after every few years. So you will see after every 2-3 years, this PMO topic coming to the fore again and again and again. And then the parliament, something related to parliament that will keep on coming. Okay. These are the key areas that are coming up, and the judicial aspect. So from executive, this legislature, judiciary. You will find these themes repeating in this particular unit. Next, let us talk about the unit of plans and priorities. The idea is fairly simple, that with unit like union government and administration, if you have a decent coverage of polity, you can still score good marks. It's a good catch of 40 marks. Coming to plans and priorities, again a static unit, roughly 20 marks. Focus is on nothing but Niti Aayog and the indicative planning. These things have been asked repeatedly. Okay, and color this with the theme of decentralization. That's it. Public participation, participatory democracy. These are the buzzwords when it comes to this theme. Next, coming to the unit of state government and administration. Now this unit carries substantial weightage. Substantial means substantial. Roughly 45 to 50 marks. And you will see the Office of Governor, Chief Secretary dominating the landscape. Governor has dominated, and the union state relations. Again, something that you can cloak with public administration and bring in the standard portions from Indian polity. So again, this makes this particular unit a easy catch. And if you will see this unit, it has a unique character. It is distributed in part A as well as part B. So it gives you that sort of flexibility, more flexibility, if we prepare this unit well. Okay, if we prepare this unit well. You see, questions are abstract. For example, 2024, center-state relations are undergoing a drastic change. That's it. Okay, mind you, in 2024 alone, this unit was of 60 marks, 60. Okay, and more important, in between union and state relations, the financial relations, the role of finance commission, etc. dominates. Right. Moving on to the next one, district administration since independence. District administration since independence. Roughly 20 marks on an average. It will largely move around the theme of development, link, development dynamics, paper 1 here. So you can use these PYQs to build those interlinkages as well, right? Also the role of district collector or district magistrate. These things are dominating in this role. And the next one, which is dominating, union, state, local government relations. These three themes. So if you master these themes, then it becomes a cakewalk. Okay, moving on to the next unit, that is the unit of civil services. Unit of civil services. Surprisingly, roughly 30 marks. Link, personnel administration paper 1 here. And while linking that, you will see that broadly the ideas will remain the same. Recruitment, training, reforms, right? And the ethics part. So ethics we saw there also important in paper 1. So if again you master this topic, you are sorted for paper 1 and paper 2. That is how in an integrated aligned manner we will have to see the things now. So ethics, the role of integrity, value of neutrality, right? Code of conduct, code of ethics. So code of conduct, code of ethics was asked in 2023. Then 2024 neutrality was asked. Just single question, 10 marks. But see how much value a certain thrust topic can give you in paper 1 and paper 2. All right, next unit. Financial management. Unit 9, financial management. Again, here you will see a good distribution. Roughly 25 to 30 marks. Roughly 25 to 30 marks. In 2024, it was asked for 30 marks. Again, the focus is on audit, budget, types of budget. Okay, something that we discussed in paper 1 as well, financial administration. So this is where the close linkages between the two papers are coming into play. Next unit would be administrative reforms. So a lot of us think that there is nothing in this unit, but roughly 20 marks, largely coming in part B of paper 2. Again, it will be a widely distributed ideas which you can link in financial administration, you can link in civil services, public policy, etc. Practical issues. So something that for which you need to read a lot, but again 20 marks is something. So you can weigh in around the major concerns only. Largely they have a contemporary orientation. So if you are very good at contemporary orientation, this unit seems to be a low hanging fruit for you. If you are not, then you can play with it. So as to say, one question largely in 5D, in question number 5 isolated, otherwise it's largely question number 6 or question number 8. And this is not something gospel I am telling you. You can yourself check this out. Okay. Moving further to the next unit, that is the unit of rural development. And rural development and urban development I will take combine. Okay, for the reason that the majority of the issues in this would remain the same. Majority of the issues in this would remain the same. So rural plus urban, if you will see, the bunch actually makes it for good 45 marks, and this is a low hanging fruit. Why am I saying this is a low hanging fruit? Because again you will have schemes and policies and the themes like democratic decentralization dominating the discourse. Okay, related to development. So these broad themes for which more often than not you have a lot of fodder. If you can bring in ideas like neo-localism, principle of subsidiarity, etc., you can very well attempt this good 40-45 marks question and see the magic. A lot of it gets asked in part B, some of them in part A as well, right? So in the compulsory section you will find it a lot, and also in part B question number 6, 7 and 8. So that gives you options to exercise in the examination. Okay, this is a low hanging fruit. I've prepared well. Urban rural in conjunction, because the themes of democratic decentralization will remain the same. In one question it might be Manrega, in another question it might be the FAME scheme, urban mobility and all that, those things. So just that differs, the foci and strategy. Okay. Largely the discourse will remain around funds, functions, functionaries, functionality, program implementation. So that ways. Now coming to the next one, we have done rural, local, then the law and order and significant issues are remaining. Let's take up law and order. Why have I combined this? Because at times the questions is regarding local government, they are not specifying rural and urban. So I thought we should take it up in this manner. With regards to law and order administration, again, the area is wholesome, roughly 30 marks on an average. 30 marks on an average. 2024, it was asked for 50 marks. 2 20 markers and 1 10 markers. And look how traditional the questions were. 2024, I am reading, folks. Separation of police investigation and prosecution wing. Own benefits challenges. NIA is playing an important role in countering terrorism. Public police relations. So public police relations, some investigative agency reforms. Those are the key themes. Yes, you have to study the British legacy, etc. But largely you will see these things are coming up of lately. Coming to the last unit of paper 2. That is significant issues. Now I'll bring this up for a reason that you will find that this unit consumes a lot, yet you don't have to prepare, anything out of the box for it. Let me take it up on a different sheet. +50 marks on an average, and when you will see the themes, it will be around corruption, citizen administration. Remember citizen administration we did before, right? Ethical aspects, something that we took up before as well, right? The values in public service, isolated questions on disaster management. So this makes it a scoring area, isn't it? Yes, application oriented area, a scoring area. But if you are, let us say, not good with application orientation, based on your temperament, you can exercise your due discretion. Largely we are talking about part B. Very rarely the questions from this particular unit have been put in part A, and whatever has been put in part A is largely simple. Okay, look at the 2024 question. Critically examine problems of administration in coalition regimes. Such a broad question. Or the regulatory agencies, I beg your pardon, I forgot. The issues of regulation, something that we have done in paper 1 as well. So if we combine this and we start thinking like this, that okay, this is in paper 1, this is in paper 2, they make a match. And we study the interlinking aspects like this. First, the syllabus, the length, breadth, girth of the syllabus seems less, and we are able to make those interconnections, because often what happens is that a lot of you struggle with it. But if we start changing the perspective and looking at things in this manner, the way I have been telling you, and this is nothing of my creation, this is something I am giving you some logical deductions from the PYQs and their placement. So a wealth of insight gets open for you, right? So these were broadly the trends. Now let's talk about very briefly the second aspect of our session today, that is answer writing. You see, any answer has broad components. Clarity, relevance, depth and expression. These are the qualitative aspects of your answer. And if I talk about the structural aspect, it is very simple. I mean, all of you have been studying it from the school as well. That is intro, body, conclusion. Now, a lot of you commit the mistake of writing just the definition. There are a few things that I want you to caution against. Don't follow template approach. Please don't. I understand that many people out there have made up templates, PYQ solutions and this and that okay, this much I will write in introduction, this much body. Okay, you have written the definition. Okay, but we will have to reflect, has the definition been asked? So let me just give you an example. Suppose you have come to meet me, right? We are meeting for the first time and I ask you, tell me something about yourself, or who are you or why you are here. And you will tell me that my name is XYZ, I am here, I do this is why I'm here, I've done this, and I expect this thing from you. So this is your introduction, right? This is your introduction. So if I record that, write that and give it to somebody, some third person, so that third person will be able to trace that what was the question broadly. So yes, broadly, if we see, the parts will remain the same. That is introduction, body and conclusion. But what is my introduction? If the question is, let us say, about Wilson, all of you start writing Wilson in his essay, father of public administration. Arey, have I asked who is daughter, who is father, who is son, who is mother? No, right? No. Or you will start writing the pillars, comparative orientation, scientific temper, business-like approach, this and that. In every question. Remember, another no. Answer is not notes. Notes are for your understanding, your consumption. Answer is for the examiner's consumption. Examiner wants to know whether you have understood and attempted the question in the right spirit. So answer is not notes. There is a different tone and tenor that is needed. So for example, you are one person, right? If I ask you, a girl or a boy, you are one person. So will you go to a birthday party, a cricket match, a funeral, dressed up in the same manner? It is you, the one person. Just like I have the concept of Wilson as one person. But will it go in every situation in the same manner? No, you will dress to the occasion. Right? You will dress to the occasion. So the point here is contextuality is the key. The way we are expressing, the way we are articulating, that is the key. Anything outside the context, no matter how much true it is, will not fetch you marks. Remember, in this examination, we are either writing 10 markers, 15 markers or 20 markers. In paper 2, we are writing merely 20 markers and 10 markers. We don't have the scope to beat around the bush. We have to hit the nail on its head. So, coming back to the point, the introduction is something that can help you trace back the question broadly. That is a good introduction. That is the identity card of your answer. That is a message to the reader, the ultimate consumer, the examiner, that you have understood what the question is asking. Then you make a connection, a connecting line. It should not be isolated pieces, join yourself. No. Then comes the body, wherein we indulge in an exercise of prove and proof. Remember, it is critical to build analysis. Analysis is something that answers 3 broad questions. That is what, why, and how. It doesn't mean that you write what, underline something, why, underline something, how. The idea is that it's a concoction of these 3 questions or answers to these 3 questions. Largely, what mistake a lot of you end up making is only answering what. You just provide the info. But we also need the reasoning. And then comes the conclusion. Conclusion is something which is reiteration of your introduction, but in a far more emphasized, far more confident manner that, look, I told you so. Okay, based on the deductions that you have made. So this should be, if any template you want to follow, follow this template. Don't follow a mechanical template. It would be like Taylorian approach, giving you some sort of self-satisfaction that you are doing good, but the examination will teach you the reality, right? So the point here is that this broad approach is fine, but you will have to dynamically adjust. Also, use diagrams, be professional, label them, refer them as shown in figure A above. Okay, do not use non-standard abbreviations. So these are the key to actually build answer writing. Now, how do we build it? Because overnight you will not start writing good answers, right? So I recommend an exercise of 500 questions. Mind you, don't be frightened. This is not something that you should take it as a gospel. For somebody, the mark might arrive at 400. For others, the mark might arrive at 550. And this I am saying whether this is GS or optional or anything. Okay. Now the point is fairly simple, that a lot of you commit the mistake of thinking and writing simultaneously. Right? I'm sure a lot of you actually do it. Right? I mean, you can tell me that yes or no very, very honestly. Now the idea is, don't think and write. A lot of you must be thinking, what am I talking? Don't think and write, then what? First think, then write. Strategic pauses. For reflection are the key. As they say, that think twice before you leap. So whatever you are writing, right, be very sure about it. I'll come back to a slide before. Now, how do you want to do this exercise? So you pick up a question, read the question, take a rough sheet. Right now the focus is on quality, not time. Later, when this quality becomes a muscle memory, we can bring down the time will automatically come down and you'll see it yourself. Now, what do I need to do? Read the question, think, okay, pause and think. And when you have thought out everything, take a rough sheet, vomit everything out on that paper from your brain. For example, let us say random thoughts are coming into my mind. A, P, M, Z, U, P, R, T, W, X. Whether it is an example, it's a linkage, vomit it, everything down here. Then read again. Okay? Question. Then see these things, strike them out, which are not needed, which might be true. I gave the example of Wilson. You know, father of public administration, Wilson, but is it necessary to write in every question if it's a 10 marker? Your 30-40 words are going to get exhausted in writing the biography of Wilson, which is not even asked. So, you eliminate the stuff. Once you have eliminated, you order it. Okay, I will talk about A, then I will talk about P, then I will talk about Z, then I will talk about R, then I will talk about U. Then assign the weights. Okay, this is substantive. I will give it a lot of footage. This is something I can take it up in a example. This I will take it up to a diagram. This I will link here. Basically planning your answer. Then you have a blueprint. In school we used to talk about that, often writing some test, every student does it, almost everyone, right? I'm sure a lot of you are far brighter than I was. You ask that, okay, you ask your friend to tell you the heading and the rest of stuff you will concoct yourself. So it is like you helping yourself. So now if you see, you have achieved order. There is a clarity of purpose. So we were having 4 building blocks: clarity, relevance, depth, expression. Expression would entail language, structure, flow. Now, with regards to clarity, once you have done this exercise, you have sorted out the relevance. Okay, this is relevant. Now, with regards to assigning of weights, you have gauged the depth. Once you have gauged the depth, now through the organization, you have organized the flow and structure. Now you simply have to express it, sandwich it between a good introduction and a conclusion. The way I have told you, what is an introduction, what is a conclusion. Okay, and your answer will be ready. Gradually, while attempting a number of questions, let us say I mark out a 100-day activity and 5 questions a day. All right, 5 questions a day. So 500 questions. Do not do it like 1 question a day. Okay, 5 questions a day. So in 100 days, what we need to do is progressively we need to reduce the details on the rough sheet and more details in the brain. And that is how we will build the muscle memory. Write the answers. Okay. So through this very tried and tested method, you can develop immense answer writing skills. In our program, while discussing themes and through the worksheets, I'll try and make you develop those insights. For example, I might ask you to write just introductions of a few PYQs in those worksheets, right? And when we'll meet in the mentorship sessions, you can show it to me. That, okay, sir, I've done this, you just take it. And then we'll try and build upon it. Okay, so this was largely my piece, folks, on the trends and answer writing. I hope it will add certain value, and see you in the next class, right? Thank you.